I was pissed off, so freaking mad, because what I realized in that epiphany was that I had been ripped off. I had had decades of disease and medications and smart doctors, including me, making decisions about my health care while I literally was falling apart, just getting more and more medicine. And then a patient who turned out, I thought he was like 23 or 24, turned out he was 17. A freaking 17-year-old punk tells me about paleo and he changes my life. Well, with all those medical problems going away, I realized, well, freaking an MD physician could be so misled. What hope is there for the average person who's never been to medical school, has no idea, is trusting all these doctors? So that's how I got to become a researcher. I said, well, I have got to figure this out. I've got to figure out what happened to me that, you know, dietary changes. Why didn't I learn about this in medical school? What the hell was I taught in medical school? And so I became a researcher. We got a grant from the National Science Foundation to study not just chronic disease, but the reversal of chronic disease, because that's what happened to me. How did that process happen? So we studied it and we realized animals in the wild don't have chronic disease. It's just one species that roams the earth that's got it, us humans. And so we dared to ask the question, my research partner and I, and we realized that animals eat what they should eat, they don't eat what they shouldn't, and they exercise very differently than us humans. And so when we tried to reverse chronic disease, we started using models that we saw were successful in the wild in humans, and lo and behold, it worked. And so eating clean, we started studying different forms of eating, cutting out processed foods, and then we looked at different modalities of exercise. There aren't animals out there jogging, they sprint. They get away from predators and they catch prey. So these series of sprinting. So we abandoned distance running, we abandoned distance durational exercise. We emulated basically the exercise patterns of animals, which are fights. I mean, animals are basically fighting. They're not out there exercising for fun or trying to look good. They're fighting other animals, either to kill it to eat it or to fight away a predator or a threat. And I'll blow up these images so you can see them a little bit better. And you can see this guy in this image has this big daddy bod, you know, dad bod. And in this MRI image, the cross section through the abdomen, you see mostly white. So I like to tell my client patients and all my followers on social media that you want to have a abdominal MRI scan that's mostly black, not white, because white is fat. And if you are mostly fat inside, you're going to be unhealthy. And that's the way I was, and that's the way this guy is, with that belly sticking out with that purple arc showing that big dad bod, we call it here in America. So big MRI, filled with lots of visceral fat. And then in his image, repeated 3 months later, look how flat his abdomen has become. And look how less white. Now he's mostly dark. So that's your first biomarker we talked about, is visceral fat and how it's associated with that dad bod. And so that's an important one for people to be aware of, and they should, you know, consider getting an MRI to take a look at.